Hey, beautiful people, how are you all today? Madonna here, and I just want to have a quick chat about mitochondrial disease. So, about 20 years ago, it was something that I started seeing a lot in my clinic. And you see a lot of babies with low tone, and people lose their ability to create energy as they get older. And there's many, many reasons for this, which, there's just lots of reasons. So, it's basically when the muscle cells in the body, and all cells have mitochondria, but the muscle cells have a huge amount of them, and our hearts have the densest amount of mitochondria of any organ in the body. And of course, the heart is a big, beautiful muscle, so we really have to look after it. And of course, one of the things we're seeing at the moment is the mitochondria. It's in a lot of current information being put out there that the mitochondria is being damaged. So I thought we'd have a quick chat about it. These are my favorite 4-5 supplements for mitochondrial disorders. And I'm sort of going to talk through the type of doses that I tend to recommend as well. So the first one's coenzyme Q10. So coenzyme Q10 is basically a nutrient that is the most important antioxidant for the heart. One of the forms is called ubiquinol, but even good old CoQ, which has a much higher absorption than regular coenzyme Q10. And with coenzyme Q10, it depends what's in it's got to be in an oil base for it to have a high absorption. So basically, CoQ10 is the most important, and Dr. Sherry T, she recommends it at the moment to protect our hearts and our blood-brain barriers and our capillary walls. We need 300 to 400 milligrams per day. So that's CoQ10. The second thing is magnesium. Magnesium. Here in Australia, at least half of us are magnesium deficient. And the problem is that once you start taking it, it is used in so many functions of the body that you've got to take good doses for at least 4 months until you start getting the storage going on in the body. With the CoQ10, because that's to do with energy production, because the mitochondria create something called ATP, adenotriphosphate. That's one of our energy, the ways we get energy from our body. So the lower our muscle mass, the lower our muscle quality, the lower our mitochondria levels are. So CoQ10 is the first, then magnesium's the second. So magnesium, of course, is really important because it's involved in everything associated with the muscles of our body. And once again, the heart is a big muscle. But there was a study a few years ago where a researcher from Adelaide in Australia put together he was compiling 2,000 studies that were looking at different systems in the body and how they're affected with or without magnesium. And the one that I remember off the top of my head was with little mice, where half of them had brain injuries. We don't want to think about how that happened. And the other half hadn't. And what they were doing was working out that if they injected magnesium, and of course you wouldn't do this on humans, but they injected magnesium immediately after the damage. They created the brain traumas. Half of them they injected magnesium into the skull, and the other half they didn't. And the half that they did inject the magnesium into actually recovered at a much, much, much higher rate than the ones who hadn't been injected. So they were sort of thinking with all of the sport we do around the planet, with things like football and things like that, where concussions are such a thing, and probably motocross and that sort of thing. Having kids with good big levels of magnesium in their system might be one of the things that helps them recover really well after injuries and accidents and concussions. So good old magnesium. Now, there's good and bad forms of everything. This is just overall. But yeah, like I said, at least 50% of us here in Australia are magnesium deficient. The next one is B complex. So we've got to have good levels of B complex because chemical reactions can't happen in the body without them. Now, when we're eating a really processed diet, the B vitamins are gone. So you're just not going to be getting the benefit out of your food if you're eating a lot of genetically modified stuff as well as fast food, because you will not have any B vitamins or hardly any in there. And quite often they denature the food and then they add in a couple, for legal purposes. But it's not the same as eating whole foods, organic grains, just getting really good quality nutrients in there. Now, if we've got the MTHFR gene, basically that's a gene that really, if you've got that and you take inactive B vitamins, your symptoms can get worse. So basically you need an activated B complex. There's lots of them around, and basically you'll see it will say activated B vitamins. I've got lots of different varieties here, and I muscle test up which ones are best for the clients. But if you've had injuries or accidents, or you're post some sort of trauma, or and your brain, if your brain, you're losing your memory, you can do with about 4,000 micrograms of B12 per day for a month. If your memory improves, it's a sign of B12 deficiency. So just keep on taking that until the memory starts to really feel good and solid. So B12 is amazing. It also helps to pull anesthetics out of the body. So, but once again, you need about 4,000 micrograms. In Australia, when we get B12 injections, there's generally about 2,000 micrograms per injection. So it's the equivalent of 2 B12 injections per day that you need. And you need it for a good 4 to 6 weeks to sop up old anesthetics in your body. If you've had lots of operations, you might even need more. But also B12, really important for transverse myelitis and neurological problems. You probably heard about Eric Clapton with his side effects. So, that's the sort of thing that I would get into with people with peripheral neuropathy and stuff like that as well. And, the Guillain-Barré syndrome too. And then the next two, acetyl L-carnitine and lipoic acid. Lipoic acid, they've actually done really good studies. Once again, fairly decent doses, about 1,200 milligrams a day. They've done some great studies where they've looked at peripheral neuropathy. Now, don't forget your nerves. You've got so many nerves in the body, they can go to the moon and back. We've got a lot of nervous system in our body, so you need a lot. You need 1,200 milligrams, and to repair the nerves, if you've got peripheral neuropathy or peripheral damage, you need it for about 6 months. So you need to be taking good solid doses for a long time to start repairing those nerves. Lipoic acid also does other forms of detoxing in the body. It also helps to balance blood sugar. So the worse our blood sugar is, your body might be chewing up the lipoic acid at the speed of light to do other jobs in the body. And acetyl L-carnitine, that's in a lot of, here in Australia at least, it's in a lot of our energy formulas, that people get at the gym. They're in a lot of the magnesium energy formulas, because it's one of the things, again, this little combo that help to create better energy production from your cells. So that's a quick little, my favorite things I do with mitochondrial diseases, so I would play around with this combo. If someone had, if it was directly after some sort of medical intervention or some sort of toxic thing, like they were living in a really polluted city for a year or two and just created some issues, and I would really be looking at some other detoxing things as well, because sometimes even within the mitochondria. And one of the things they found with, there was a study that came out from the Salk Institute about a month ago, saying that the spike proteins were actually building up in the mitochondria in the sperm and the mitochondria in the ovaries. So, we've got potential issues down the track if we don't start detoxing these things out of our body, which of course we don't know if we can, because, new technology. So we'll just keep putting it out there, keep trying to find solutions, and hope you all have a fantastic day. Okay, take care. Bye.